The 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars season was probably the worst season I can ever remember as a Jags fan. However, it's 2025 now, and that comes with a new coach, a new outlook, and a new roster. So today I want to break down the Jacksonville Jaguars depth chart, position group by position group, give my thoughts on each one, and my overall thoughts on the team and the outlook for 2025. Right before the season starts, I am going to do a season preview video where I go through each game and predict my record and my thoughts on just the overall year and season, along with breakout players and stats. But today, I just want to look at the Jaguars roster. The Jaguars don't cut down their roster until I believe around midweek next week. So I wanted to get my predictions on what I think the Jaguars roster is going to be, along with how I think they'll do this year. So with all that out of the way, let's get to position group number 1, quarterbacks. QB1, Trevor Lawrence. Now, I did talk a lot about Trevor in a previous video, and I do think this is going to be a very big bounce back year for him in the Liam Cohen offense. I could see things being a little shaky to start, given it's a new system, a lot of new players. However, from what I've seen of Trevor in this offseason, and at least in the first preseason game, I think he's on a mission this year to kind of prove the doubters wrong, and I really hope so. Obviously, he hasn't lived up to that number 1 pick generational QB we all thought he would, but I do think he is our franchise quarterback and will lead the Jaguars in the future as well. After that, we got the backup in Nick Mullins. Okay. I mean, if Trevor goes down and Nick Mullins has to come in, obviously things are going to be tough. I don't really expect much. He's the backup. All right, moving on to running backs. I actually have a lot of thoughts on this running back room. I think the Jaguars have a really solid group of running backs this year. However, my depth chart, I'm going to go number 1, Travis Etienne, number 2, Tank Bigsby, number 3, Bashal Tutin, number 4, LaQuint Allen, and those are the 4 running backs they'll keep on the roster the whole year. I do know that there is something kind of weird going on with Tank Bigsby. He's had some kind of cryptic tweet and some rumors that the Jaguars may be looking to trade him, or that he might not be happy in the current role. However, I think things will work out, and I think that the way that this new regime has kind of handled things, I think they'll kind of keep it all under control. I do believe Tank Bigsby will be on this roster and will contribute heavily to this team. I could be completely wrong. I could put out this video and a day later they trade him. Nothing I can do about it. So far right now, I think he's running back 2. But the thing about this running back room is that if they were to trade Tank Bigsby, I honestly think they'll be fine. I really think Etienne and Bashal Tutin could really hold down this running back group for the whole season. And I think LaQuint Allen is a great third down back to help with blocking and to help with catching balls out of the backfield and screens. I do have Etienne as the number 1 back. I don't think he really has a future in Jacksonville. I think this will be his last year at the Jaguars. And I think at least at the start, he will be the starting running back on first and second down. But as the season goes forward, I think Tank Bigsby and Bashal Tutin are going to take over that role, and Travis Etienne might take a back seat for the last half of the season. Which, hey, that's a good running back to be a running back maybe 3 or 4. And I think there's a lot of versatility here. I think they can all catch the ball out of the backfield. Tank Bigsby is your good downhill runner. They can all hit big plays. And I do hope they don't trade Tank Bigsby, because he's really the only full-on power back that I think the Jaguars have right now. Tutin might be able to become that, or maybe he is, and I don't know. But if there's one back I want on either goal line to either get us out of the end zone or get us in the end zone, it's Tank Bigsby. So we'll see on that, but so far running backs are looking really good, and I'm really happy with this depth chart so far. I think Etienne's number 1 for now, but I think somewhere mid-season, I think maybe week 6, 7, or 8, kind of like what Bucky Irving did last year for the Bucs, I think Tutin might come in and be the number 1 back when it's all said and done, which would be great. And I really think each of these running backs, maybe besides LaQuint Allen, could be the bell cow back when it's all said and done, but there's a lot of good versatility and there's a lot of good stuff here. Now let's move on to wide receivers and tight ends. I'm going to kind of do this all in one big bunch, starting off with the wide receivers. Wide receiver 1, Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, what else could we say? I think the Liam Cohen offense is going to run through the connection between Trevor and BTJ. I think he is a clear wide receiver 1. I think has potential to be in the top 10, top 5 wide receivers this year. For wide receiver 2, I am putting Travis Hunter. I think all indications have been that he will be opposite BTJ on the field, and Travis Hunter can really line up anywhere on the outside, in the slot, wide receiver screens, across the middle, outs, double moves. I think he can do it all, and I think we got a really good 1-2 punch here. Wide receiver 3, I'm going with Dyami Brown. He came in on a 1-year deal from the Washington Commanders. I think he's going to impress. I don't expect anything crazy from Dyami Brown, but I think he's a really solid wide receiver 3 on this offense, and will fill in nicely as the wide receiver 2 while Travis Hunter is playing defense. And I think will be a big use in this Liam Cohen offense. Wide receiver 4, I'm going Parker Washington. I think Parker Washington is a great Christian Kirk replacement for now. He's going to be great in the slot. Whenever Travis Hunter needs kind of a rest on offense or while he's playing defense, I really could see Parker Washington filling in the slot really well and having really kind of maybe a breakout season. Nothing crazy, but I think he definitely has a role on this offense. And the last two coming off the bench in our reserves, we have Joshua Cephas and Trenton Irwin, who I think will play good roles on special teams and kind of filling in case anyone gets hurt, but I don't really expect much of them this year, so we are keeping 6 wide receivers. Now, tight ends, it's pretty simple. We're keeping 3 tight ends, Brenton Strange, Hunter Long, and Johnny Munt. I think Brenton Strange is going to have a huge role in this Liam Cohen offense. I think he has really great potential to actually make a name for himself in this league, catching the ball and being a great blocker. And we can already see in the offseason and in the preseason that he has made a lot of big plays and has been a very reliable target for Trevor, and a very reliable blocker in the run game. Moving on to offensive line, we are keeping 10 offensive linemen, and I think we're going to need them. This is probably one of the hardest ones to predict, in my opinion, but so far I'm going left tackle, Walker Little, left guard, I'm going Ezra Cleveland, center, Robert Hainsey, right guard, Patrick McCarry, and right tackle, Anton Harrison, as for the starting line week 1. As for the depth in the offensive line, we got Fred Johnson, kind of filling in at either tackle spot if anyone goes down. Wyatt Milam, the rookie 3rd-round pick, I believe might push for a guard spot, but right now I do have him as a reserve to come in, and he could get some playing time this year depending on how the season goes. But I have pretty big hopes for him in the future. Also Chuma Edoga from the Cowboys that we got in free agency. I think he'll be a good depth piece. Cole Van Lanen, I think he might have gotten hurt, but I do think he will be on this roster. And then Jonah Monheim filling in at a backup guard and center role. That was the 7th-round pick that we got in the draft this year. You may have noticed some surprise cuts. In my team, I'm cutting Luke Fortner.
So while editing this video, I did see that the Jags did trade Luke Fortner to the Saints for Colin Sanders. So I was still right that Luke Fortner is not going to be on this team. However, I might need to make a change to the defensive section of this video in order to keep the roster down to 53. But Luke Fortner traded. I think that was a good move. He was kind of expendable on this roster, and I know a lot of fans didn't really want to see him in teal again this year.
And then also Javon Foster. He was kind of a flyer, I believe maybe 5th-round pick, I don't know, but I haven't really seen any development from him and I don't really know what he is. I think we have a lot better talent on this roster and we need sure things in case something goes down. As far as my thoughts on the offensive line, I do think it will be better than last year. GM James Gladstone has talked a lot about raising the floor, and I think the offensive line was the first thing that they wanted to address in order to raise the floor. The thing is, I don't see any really standout go-to offensive line players on here. I don't see anyone on this offensive line that I go, oh, that's our guy. That's our Jaguars superstar offensive lineman. I don't see it. I mean, maybe Anton Harrison could develop into that. We still don't really know if Walker Little is a franchise left tackle. And the center and the right guard that we picked up in free agency, we'll see. I mean, they were kind of depth pieces of the teams that they came from, so we're kind of banking that they can develop and become starters and reliable on our team. I don't really know how that's going to work, and I'll have to believe it before I see it. But I do like the depth. I do like having Fred Johnson and Edoga, Wyatt Milam, Monheim coming off the bench if we really need them. I think they can fill in and almost give you very similar production, which I don't know what that really says about our starters, if they're really that great, if our bench players can kind of come in and swap interchangeably and probably give you the same production. So I think there's good depth here, but I'm a little concerned that it hasn't really improved to the amount that we need it to. Jaguars offensive line has consistently been bottom 3rd every single year since Trevor's been drafted, and Trevor's been injured a lot, and I think if the offense does disappoint this year, I think it really could be because Trevor just doesn't have enough time in the pocket and the Jags can't run the ball because we're not getting the push up front. As far as the strengths for this offense, I really like our skill positions. I think our skill position group could really match up with a lot of teams in the league, and I think will be the strength of the team. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will be a fun team to watch this year and will put up a lot of points because of the depth and the versatility of their skill players. And the Liam Cohen offense that comes in, that's going to be heavily focused on running the ball, screen game, along with setting up those play action shots and those deep passes, I think will really set a new standard for offense in Jacksonville, and I'm really excited to see it. However, I am a little concerned with the offensive line. I don't know if it's really that improved over the last few years and could be a detriment to the team, especially our interior. If our interior offensive linemen don't prove to be good enough, it could set this offense back a lot. Okay, let's flip it over to the defensive side. Starting out with our defensive ends, our edges, our pass rushers, which I think are a huge strength of the team. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker off the edge. Can't do much better than that in the NFL, to be honest. And I'm expecting big years for both of them. As far as depth on the edge, I really like the depth too, with Dawon Smoot coming back and Emmanuel Ogbah coming in free agency. I just think those two are very reliable pieces that you can count on to spell either Trayvon or Josh, and can even come on obvious passing down situations, moving Trayvon inside and having Ogbah or Smoot as a big end coming off the edge. I think that's a really lethal pass rush combination. On defensive tackle, this is where some big concerns kind of come in for me. I do have kind of our nose tackle, Devon Hamilton. I do have Eric Armstead and Mason Smith as my starting defensive tackles for now. And then in reserve, I have Tyler Lacey and
Colin Saunders
backing them up. There definitely are some concerns here. First off, we don't really know what's going on with Eric Armstead. There's a lot of rumors, is he hurt or not? I don't know. All I'm concerned is he gonna be ready week 1? As for right now, I don't know. And we really need Eric Armstead to be out there and for him to be good this year at his natural position. Because if not, I think this might be a long year for our defense. Mason Smith, I think, showed a lot of promise last year, and I think he will be good as long as he can stay healthy. Thankfully, he is off the PUP list and should be ready for week 1, hopefully. But it's a lot to ask for a second-year player that hasn't had a lot of development to come off no training camp and no practice and perform at the level that we need him to. Devon Hamilton, hopefully he can get back to that kind of 2022 year that we saw him kind of break out. It's been kind of since, and hopefully he could really solidify stopping the run. And then Tyler Lacey and Jordan Jefferson, I mean, kind of developmental pieces. We'll see how they do, but I think they're okay as your reserves. But if they're the ones starting week 1 or week 2, I will have major concerns for this defensive line.
Again, so I already filmed this before the trade for Saunders happened. I originally had Jordan Jefferson being that last spot on defensive tackle. Since the trade for Colin Saunders, I do not have him making the roster as of this point. He could be seen as kind of a surprise cut. However, it was kind of a questionable pick to begin with, and this is a new regime, and he definitely hasn't shown really any development. So I could definitely see him possibly being demoted to the practice squad or just off the roster entirely. And I think Saunders does fit in pretty nicely with his defense. I think he is a pretty athletic defensive tackle who can play 3 technique and can even back up Devon Hamilton if needed. If Devon Hamilton never recovers to that 2022 form, at least we have Saunders who can be a nice piece there on the inside.
Obviously, our pass rush is a huge strength. However, if we can't get any push from the interior or we can't stop the run up the middle, this defense is going to be bad and we're going to lose games because of it. And it could be the possible downfall of the season if it gets to that point. Having no ability to stop the run or having no interior push is not going to let our amazing edge rushers eat. And right now, I just see as a major weakness for this team. Heading on to the linebacker room, I have our starting linebackers as Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd. I think that's going to be the same for the whole year. I think it's pretty solid. I think Foye has proved to be a very reliable linebacker, and Devin Lloyd, I think, could have a possible breakout season. We'll see though. And then backing them up, I got Chad Muma, Jack Kaiser, Dennis Gardeck that we got from the Cardinals on free agency. I think he could play a pretty decent role on special teams and in possible blitzing packages. And then Ventrell Miller, I do have making the roster too. I think he is a very versatile, very good backup to Foye Oluokun. Overall, linebacker room I think is pretty solid. No real complaints. All right, going into the secondary, starting off with cornerbacks, we're going with cornerback number 1, Tyson Campbell. I know right now he is still injured. I'm hoping and praying he's going to be ready for week 1, but I think when healthy, he is the best true corner on the roster for now. Quarterback number 2 is where things get really interesting here. Right now, I have the starting quarterback 2 as Jerrion Jones / Travis Hunter. I think they're going to try to use Hunter as much as they can on defense, but Jerrion Jones will play maybe half the snaps. In my opinion, I think that the Jags will use Travis Hunter primarily on offense, and then half of the defensive snaps, he will be that cornerback 2. Travis Hunter may be the best corner on this roster, but I think the way that the Liam Cohen offense works, I think he will be used in offense more, even though we might need him on defense more, given how bad our defense might be. As far as Jerrion Jones, I am a little concerned with him on the outside. Last year, he was pretty decent as the nickel role and really developed into a nice player for us on the defense. But moving him down to outside, I think could be a cause of concern if he doesn't develop quick enough or if he's not able to keep up. As for the nickel corner, I do have Jordan Lewis, the big free agent that we got from the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's going to lock that down and actually be a really solid piece for this defense. Going into the safeties, I have Eric Murray and Dewey Wingard as our starting safeties. And then in reserve, I have Caleb Renshaw, as long as he can be healthy and come back from injury, Darnell Savage, and Daniel Thomas, who will probably be playing more of those special teams roles. As far as the safeties are concerned, I think just solid. Eric Murray and Dewey Wingard, I think they're solid pros that at least we know they'll probably be in the right spot, unlike last year with Johnson and Cisco, which was very boom or bust, and a lot of time bust in the back of the defense. At least we know that Dewey and Murray will probably hold that down. Maybe not be the biggest playmakers, but at least be sure tacklers, get to the ball, and just be in the right spot. I do foresee maybe later in the season Caleb Renshaw really coming into his own and maybe overtaking Dewey for that second safety spot and really developing into a nice player for us. But for right now, I'm going to say Andrew Wingard will be the starting safety week 1. The surprise cut here is Antonio Johnson. Last year, we kind of gave him that chance to, okay, you're the starting safety, let's see what you can do. I think he did really bad and just was in the wrong spot a lot and let up a lot of holes on our defense and a lot of big plays. I've heard he's had a pretty good camp, but I think the safety room could be pretty crowded pretty quickly. I could say maybe if he does join the team, maybe Darnell Savage does get cut instead, since we may not need him since he won't be starting and he's making a lot of money. But we'll see. Right now I have Antonio Johnson off the roster. Now, as far as the secondary concerned, I see this as a major weakness on this team, almost in the same way I see as defensive tackle. As defensive tackle, I think could be good if Eric Armstead and Mason Smith are healthy the whole year, and Mason Smith really develops into a really nice 3 technique that can get a lot of push on the interior and stop the run. It actually has the potential to possibly be a strength, but if he doesn't, then the interior is a problem. The secondary, on the other hand, I'll believe it till I see it. Tyson Campbell, I think, is a really, really good player, very underrated, but he just can't stay on the field. And of course, we're going to, the 3rd offseason in a row where Tyson Campbell is not healthy entering week 1 and might not even play, might miss some time. It's basically almost a guarantee at this point that he's going to miss at least 2 to 4 games in the season and be a shell of himself by the end of the year. But we'll see if he does stay healthy and does reach that potential we all know he can be. I think that helps the secondary a lot. And I think if Travis Hunter can be what we think he can, I think you really have a potential for 2 really solid lockdown corners, with Jordan Lewis in the middle that I think is going to be really good as well. The question here is that it could be good, however, it could be terrible, as if Tyson isn't very healthy or isn't playing up to his ability, and Travis Hunter isn't able to play a lot of snaps on defense, and we have Jerrion Jones out there, and he hasn't developed into a true outside corner like we need him to be this year, then we might have major problems in the secondary. Even though our safeties, I think, will just be solid and okay this year, nothing bad, nothing amazing, I think we could see some offenses absolutely shred this defense this year, kind of like how the Steelers backups did to us in preseason game week 1. That could be a theme for the whole year. Our offense cooks, scores some points, defense lets up even more. But we'll see. That's my depth chart for the defense. As far as specialists, I mean, what can we say? Might be the best special teams in the league. Cam Little as our kicker, Logan Cook as our punter, and Ross Madsick as our holder. As far as the return game, I am going to put Parker Washington as our main punt returner and kick returner. So that's my breakdown for the Jaguars depth chart this year. Is this a better roster than last year? Yes, I do. I think across the board, GM James Gladstone and Tony Baselli have fulfilled their promise of raising the floor. I think there is a lot much better depth here. However, I think there are some major holes that I think is going to take another year or 2 to really patch up, mainly on the interior of the offensive line and defensive line, and in the secondary at that second corner spot and possibly safety. But overall, I think it's going to be a fun year. I think you're going to see a lot of offense. I think you're going to see a lot of touchdowns, and I think you might see a lot of touchdowns from the other team as well. But there's a lot of boom or bust potential here. If the Jags defense can stay healthy and make some plays, maybe make a turnover or 2 a game, that would be nice, then I think it could really set up for our offense to have a huge year and for us to possibly make a playoff push if we're lucky. But as a beat down Jags fan, I'll believe it till I see it. So that's my predictions for the Jaguars depth chart in 2025. Thanks for watching this video. My Jaguars season preview will be coming out soon, probably about a few days before the season actually starts. I'm really excited to make that video. Next week's kind of a fun video. I'm going to be making a bunch of Jaguars themed cocktails. So if you're into making drinks and you're a Jags fan, I definitely recommend you checking out that video. During the season, I am going to be making a lot of weekly videos on the Jaguars. I'm going to be doing weekly game recaps. So after the game, my reactions and thoughts. And I'm going to be doing a preview of next week's game. So watch out for those videos. I'll still be uploading weekly main videos on all the topics that I'm interested in: Japan, football, making drinks. And I still have my Friday evening Drink in Japanese podcast. If you're a Japanese learner like me and you want some more listening practice or just want to relax with a drink and hear me talk about my life in Japanese, go ahead and check that out as well. Anyways, thanks for watching. Go Jags, and I'll see you later.